So it's, oh, recording progs. There you go. So right, fantastic. Yeah. So thanks everyone. We're going to wait a few minutes just for everyone to sort of filter through. But yeah, so this is the It Forum event about developing your LinkedIn brand with Dr. Elizabeth Blakelock. Some housekeeping sessions being recorded, but I don't think anyone's, the way it's set up, no one's camera's going to be on. But yeah, keep in mind that any questions maybe you may answer will be recorded, and we'll upload this to YouTube a little bit later on. As mentioned, we'll wait a few more minutes just for people to filter through. And yeah, we'll start in 30 seconds or so. Bro, Elizabeth, are you ready to start now, would you say? Okay, I'm seeing a thumbs up. Well, no, hey everyone. So my name's Sandy Kelly. I'm the Vice Chair of the Young Energy Professionals Forum. A forum set up for young professionals really to talk about all things energy, and our motto being around connecting, learning, and inspiring hopefully the next generation to really push forward net zero. So we're going to start off this sort of year with a fantastic workshop with Dr. Elizabeth Blakelock. And well, first and foremost, would you like to introduce yourself, Elizabeth? And it's not all about me, obviously, but yeah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It's brilliant to be here, particularly that mission around connecting and inspiring, to think and talk about developing your LinkedIn brand, because LinkedIn, I've found, is a fantastic place for doing exactly that, connecting and inspiring. So I'm Dr. Elizabeth Blakelock, and I lead the Retail Directorate at Citizens Advice. You're the statutory advocate in the energy sector. I've been in the energy sector myself for 20 years, so definitely don't get to be here as a participant. So thank you so much for having me as a speaker. In my career, I've spent time at very large energy companies. I've been an academic. I've co-founded a community energy local program, and I've been at Citizens Advice for 7 years. I really do count as a hashtag energy geek. And one of the things that I've really been focused on is changing the way that decision makers think and talk about energy. And at the start of my career, I really focused on changing the minds of individuals, kind of one at a time or in small groups. And that is not an approach that I would universally endorse, because it's so time consuming. So what I've done more recently is spent a lot more time thinking about how to broadcast messages. So yes, that includes taking part in the media we do at Citizens Advice, but also thinking about what opportunities are there to speak to very large groups of people, to make sure that the ideas that I want to see embedded in the energy sector are taken seriously. And that led me to think really carefully about my personal brand, and also the different opportunities that we have in terms of forums. Where is it that my voice might be heard? And that's what led me to LinkedIn. And I'd love to share some of my learnings with you, so you can have a chance to reflect on your personal brand and think about LinkedIn as a tool for not only being a showcase for you and your opinions, but also as a tool for people and projects reaching out directly to you, so that your voice can be heard and you can do what you want to inspire and change the energy system for the better. So I'm going to start the session today with a run through of what I have learned doing a LinkedIn challenge with the LinkedIn team. So that if you just want to kind of dip in and think about LinkedIn as a tool, not quite ready to think about personal branding stuff yet, you can do that. But then we'll move on to some exercises to specifically think about you and how LinkedIn can be a tool for you to take that role as a thought leader on this platform where you can reach so many people. So why use LinkedIn? You might be really familiar as a tool for job hunting and online networking, and it absolutely is a very valuable place to do those things. You get the chance to have a virtual CV up there. It's also a brilliant place, now that so many of us are spread out, to be networking online. I'm disabled myself. I find mobility very challenging. So being able to do that networking from my accessible home here in Suffolk, rather than having to go around the country to conferences, has been incredibly relevant and important. I also have seen it be an incredibly valuable tool for accelerating the reach of reports and insights. So here at Citizens Advice, we do a great deal of this, fantastic research insight to really explain the experiences of consumers as we transition to net zero, as well as challenges in the current energy system. Individually in your organisations and your firms, you might be doing research. You might also have some perspective on corporate social responsibility, or perhaps just your annual report that you want to make sure the insights and the profile of your organisation and firm reaches a large group of people. All three of those things, which are relevant and important, are hugely accelerated by building your personal brand. Because if you have a message, no matter what it's about, that you're a great candidate for a job, that you're a fantastic person to network with because you've got a very well-established brand and well-established network yourself, or that you've got a message that you want to get across, people buy people. So if you are a respected voice because you've invested in your personal brand, then all three of those other things are going to flow much more straightforward. So what do I mean by personal brand? Well, what I mean is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So that's going to happen. People are going to talk about you. They're going to talk about the projects that you're doing. They're going to talk about what you do for your organisation, for your team. And that is going to happen. It's part of professional life. So thinking about your professional brand is kind of taking a bit of control over what people might be saying about you and thinking about what you want to be known for. Your personal brand acts as a pull for people and projects. If you're really clear about what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, then other people can reach out to find you. You don't have to be the only person trying to get that network going. And as for projects, whether that's internally within your own organisation or your next role, if you're really clear about what you want next, what you're great at, then those can come to you as well as you doing all that work to search them out. And it's so exciting to be here with this network who think so much about connecting and inspiring, because of course, if you've got that clear personal brand, you're pulling to get to you the people and the projects you're passionate about, you can absolutely do more of those things. All right, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time now thinking and talking about LinkedIn as a tool. I'd love you to use this for personal branding. Actually, these are ways of using LinkedIn that whatever you're trying to do will work. And this is based on my 6-week course of LinkedIn, a LinkedIn challenge, and thinking about how to make sure that the algorithm is working with you rather than against you. All right. So you have the option to put into LinkedIn your whole life story. There's a box for basically everything, including what school you went to. If you would like to spend your precious time making sure everything is reflected, fabulous. It's a nice coffee shop job maybe on a Friday afternoon. But you don't need that to be thinking and talking about personal brand. And you certainly don't need to be doing that to make the LinkedIn algorithm work for you straight away. Your name and job title are enough to start engaging on LinkedIn. You can also add your colleagues and connections. I'm just realizing that my transition to PowerPoint from Sheets has added these all as a number one. When you get the circulated slides, they will have different numbers on them. But the second thing you can do is add your colleagues as connections. So those two things get you going, and you're there, and you can start to build a personal brand. I also really wanted to highlight that you don't have to always be on LinkedIn, and you don't always have to be creating new individual content about a scattering of things. With the LinkedIn team, what we talked about is the 3 things that most people are talking about on LinkedIn: education, inspiration, and connection. So education, sharing information; inspiration, maybe something like a quote or recommendation; and connection, building connection with others through sharing your reflections and opinions. Now, you could have the same report or the same event and post 3 times across the week or even across the month about that. So let's take the example, something that's very live in my work at the moment on the idea of a universal priority service register to get support to people who need it most. So I've got a series of reports at Citizens Advice that provide education, share why that is needed. So I can share the report along with a short amount of text to get that education piece. But based on exactly the same report, I can then post the next day, next week, to share a key quote or indeed a recommendation from that paper. So from those reports, one of the key recommendations is a government task force. So that post could be Citizens Advice call for government task force. Same basis, new post on LinkedIn. And then connection, sharing your reflections and opinions. So that third post, again, based on the same report, might be my experiences as a disabled person and why I think personally this is so important. Or it might be my reflections on working on, what is it like to try and lobby for that kind of change. So if you are going to think about how practically to get on LinkedIn more, it doesn't always have to be about investing loads of time. You could be taking these initial steps just to get going. My numbers are arrived again. So the next things to think about is how to accelerate the reach of individual posts. So firstly, you have now a relatively new feature. You can follow hashtags and add them to your profile. And that means that the people who are following those hashtags will see what you're doing. So one I use a lot is hashtag changemakers, people who are looking to influence, looking to change their organization or policy. Or vulnerability, I work in that area, so hashtag vulnerability, and then people who are interested in that topic will see my posts. This was really interesting, number 5, feedback from the LinkedIn team. Tagging people might not boost your post. So you have the ability to at people in your post or in the comments. Now, if you at 3 people and they don't respond, they don't like it, they don't comment on it, the LinkedIn algorithm says, that's not a very influential post, is it? The people that you're tagging aren't responding. So it won't give you a boost. Now, it's not going to suppress it in any way. Also, it's not going to give you a boost because it's not, it doesn't think that it's as relevant or as interesting. So it's worth thinking about, is that person, is that organization, if you're tagging them, are they going to like it? Are they going to engage with it? And if they're not, it's probably worth just putting their name in to acknowledge them rather than atting them in that way on LinkedIn. Another thing that was really surprising to me was that even though LinkedIn want you to be present regularly, posting multiple times in one day can limit the reach. So again, LinkedIn's not suppressing anything, but if it sees that one of your posts is really taking off, it gives it a boost. If you're posting multiple times a day, it assumes you're spamming people and it doesn't give it that boost. One of the things that I really love about LinkedIn is that even the free version has a really good set of analytics. So if you are really interested in looking maybe over the course of the year, what does well, what doesn't do so well, or if like me, you're actively trying to influence other people, you can actually see, okay, well, am I, what posts are getting to the maximum number of people so that I can see the change spread across the energy industry that I'm looking for. So if you only took 3 things away from what the LinkedIn algorithm loves, I would say these final few things. LinkedIn loves short text with a single image. And in fact, it will prompt you when you go to write a post to put those in, to have a relatively short amount of text and a photo. If you copy and paste a link, it will create an image. Some of them aren't very pretty, but it will create an image for you. So consider that when you're posting. That might be, if you do want people to read a report, perhaps use a key image from the report and a short summary to get people to see the LinkedIn post. Use 3 to 5 hashtags. That's the way to reach a great deal of people and then get that LinkedIn algorithm boost. And finally, if you've got the time, think about commenting on other people's posts. Now, LinkedIn wants you to be there, engaging and connecting with other people. It doesn't really want you to be super productive and efficient and go on there, dump a load of stuff and then exit. So if you log on and engage in other people's posts, and engagement to LinkedIn is a 5-word comment. If you do 5 other posts, 5 comments, it says, oh, look, this is a great person to be on LinkedIn. They're super engaged. And therefore, again, we're going to boost their post. So that's something to think about if you really want to accelerate the reach of individual posts, whatever they may be, about your work, around your personal brand, or anything else. And just another plug again to really think carefully about the way that you can use the analytics that are on free LinkedIn to just have a bit of a sense check. Is the time that you're invested on being there being spent well? You can see that from the number of views and the number of engagements that are on there. All right, so that is your 10-minute version of how to use LinkedIn. I'm going to take a pause now to think far more about your personal brand. So I'm giving you some tools. What might you use those tools for? I'll give you a second if you can find an empty doc or an email or something, or pen and paper. If you've got that to hand, go full retro. And then we're going to do 2 exercises I'm going to facilitate with you, and that will give you content to put onto your LinkedIn profile, and to also give you some thinking about how you might want to use the toolbox I've just handed over. So firstly, I'm going to start with this first exercise, questions that are great for understanding how you prioritize your time on LinkedIn. And this question is, what do you want to be known for? Now, I know that some people who are here today or who are watching back might have had a chance to think about this, and others less so. So if you've never really thought about this, then a good starter question to lead you to, what do you want to be known for? If your first response is, oh, I'm not actually sure what I want to be known for, then a different question might be, who do you admire? Whose personal brand makes you think, oh, that's where I want to be? Or whose values do you think actually they really match mine? Who do you admire? If you already know what you want to be known for, but you're not actually doing anything to project it, you're not on LinkedIn sharing, you're not telling the people around you what you want to be known for, you can think about what opportunities you might be seeking to talk about what you've been known for. You might already be there, you might have come today because you've already started to experiment with ways of projecting what you want to be known for, and you're giving it a try. So what you could use this time to do is describe in 1 to 3 sentences what you want to be known for. Be really disciplined with yourself to get it down. And if you're thinking, Elizabeth, why am I not giving this presentation? Because I know so much about personal brand. I've been working really hard on this. Fantastic that you're here still looking to learn. If you're trying already to project what you want to be known for, have a think about who is your dream advocate, and what might they say about what you want to be known for. All right, so I'm going to be quiet for a whole 5 minutes while you answer the question, what do you want to be known for, using a blank doc or a piece of paper.
And over those 5 minutes, Elizabeth, there are some Q&A questions already coming through. So if you're happy to type some responses to those questions, that would be great. As I too, I'm going to pick up my pencil as well and write this down. Thank you.
All right. Please do feel free to finish off any of your notes and thoughts on this one. Before we move on, I'm actually going to do some of the Q&A on the recording, so that people watching back can really benefit from the questions that people have asked. I won't name anyone, but thank you so much for those of you who have done that. So really short answers. And you can contact me on LinkedIn if you would like more detail, and we can go through it a bit more in terms of the answers to these questions. So firstly, quite a broad question on accelerating the reach of insight. So just as I've talked about personal brand, those top tips in the earlier slides absolutely work in terms of getting the insights that you've got across LinkedIn. Another question on leaving a five-word comment. Is it still worthwhile engaging with other people's posts if you don't have time to do the 5 words or more? So you'll still get a benefit because you'll be networking with other people. You know, other people will notice that you're liking their posts, other people will notice your short comments, and that's really worthwhile. And in the long run is really likely to pay off, but you won't get that short-term boost from the LinkedIn algorithm as it's written at the moment or at the time that I did the course last month. So that's those questions there. In terms of the, there's 2 questions around celebrating at kind of I'll just take them separately. There's one about celebrating achievements and how that might be more or less engaging. I have to say, I've been quite surprised at the warmth of LinkedIn as a professional networking place. You know, I've seen perfect strangers really celebrating each other's successes. So I think it's a brilliant tool to celebrate your successes, small and large, especially if you can accompany it with a photo. So a small success that I might celebrate would be getting into the office. That's quite a challenge for me to get into the central London office. So about once every couple of weeks on my LinkedIn, you'll see a picture of me looking cold and a bit uncomfortable on a railway platform, celebrating my achievement of getting into London. And then other times it'll be more significant. So, reports landed really well. And I would have like an image of the report and my reflections on how great it's been and celebrating that achievement and thanking the team, that kind of thing. So I think that if you know what you want to be known for, that helps you kind of prioritize the wins that you're like, oh, I definitely want to put that on LinkedIn. But I would really encourage you to think quite broadly about those things, about the wins that you want to celebrate, because people really do love forging those connections, and celebrating those small wins can be incredibly powerful for that networking piece. In terms of skills or knowledge, like particular topics versus skills, I would just call it out really explicitly. So, for example, I've been working really hard to do more public speaking and more presentation skills in the last 3 years. So I have in my about section that you can invite me to speak at an event. So I would be very explicit, in particularly in your about me box, about those skills. And then what you have the opportunity to do is, if you're honing that skill, you can share that experience on LinkedIn. So I get to be part of the Tide task force, and I take my role as an ally very seriously. But my goodness, there's a lot of learning that I need to do to be an effective ally. And so I share the challenges that I faced, the books that I've been reading that have really helped me, that kind of thing on LinkedIn. There's a really interesting comment here about if you're working on something that's secret or confidential, how do you share your achievements in the same way? And so I would have just maybe a single journey somewhere where you think about, how am I going to label this project when I talk about it externally? And you'd have to do the same thing kind of in a job interview if it was external. So think about, what type of project is this? And then use that broader description. So you might say, celebrating a massive milestone today. It was an incredibly intense time, but great that the team managed to get it across the line. You don't have to say what it is, but you're still talking about your experience. It's like your personal experience of doing that. Now that's harder if you want to be known for a particular technical piece of expertise. But I think just having that short amount of time to reflect and think, how might you describe it in a job application with an external organisation, might really help you then be able to talk about it online. Finally, controversial one, accepting connection requests if you don't know the person, especially if they're in a different industry. So it's really a personal preference whether or not you accept things, accept kind of those blind blind ads, particularly since a lot of them are trying to probably sell you something. I think if you kind of just have to make that decision for yourself, in that, do you intend to engage with all the people that you're connected to? So you can really focus on, if you want a lot of more people to connect to, it's great to have a broader network, even outside the industry, because of course we know that the energy sector is so diverse. There are a lot of people who are really interested, but then it does mean that your messages might become a bit more cluttered, with people trying to sell you things. So that's really the trade-off. So I generally will accept people as long as there's like their actual name and a photo. But that means that I sometimes have to scroll quite a lot in my DMs to find people who are actually contacting me with something I'm interested in. So definitely a trade-off there. All right, I'm going to give you a chance to look at the second activity now. And again, please do carry on typing your questions in while we spend 5 minutes on the second exercise. All right, so this is an exercise which could generate for you a great About Me section in LinkedIn, on your LinkedIn profile. So we said, what do you want to be known for, and thought about it in terms of skills and technical knowledge. But now we're going to really focus on a way of describing what you want to be known for in a way that helps you build connections, which helps that people and projects reaching out to you. And that's got 3 questions. What do you stand for? Who do you stand with? And what makes you stand out? So what do you stand for is really likely to be connected to your personal values. So I post a great deal about the inclusion of consumers in vulnerable circumstances in the transition to net zero, because I think it's incredibly important we have a fair energy market and a fair energy system. So I would say that I stand for inclusion and fairness when I'm thinking and talking about my work in the energy sector. Who do you stand with? This might be talking about your participation in YEP. It might be thinking about the other organisations and the type of organisations that you like to connect with, you like to make sure you stand shoulder to shoulder with. Really thinking about the community element there and what makes you stand out. And you can draw on your reflections in the first exercise to articulate this. What are the skills or the technical knowledge which you know are really important to you and therefore make you stand out? All right, I'm gonna wrap us up there. So we've got time from this exercise. You might well need or want more time on those questions, and I'd really encourage you to come back maybe next time you're on a train, or next time you've been woken up at a ridiculous time in the morning by a small child and then managed to get them back to sleep, wherever that quiet moment is, to come back to this and give it a try, to answer those questions. I'd also like to point out that LinkedIn is completely editable. So if you want to change your About Me section once a week until you've got something that you like, you can absolutely do that. Maybe a bit too much time, but I would really encourage you to start. Just try some things and see what feels like it's most authentic to you, and see what kind of connections that you start to get. I've been really surprised at some of the things which I think of as least worky, way of saying it. Some of the surprising connections, and comments and engagement I've had on LinkedIn, by people I never would have expected. I've never met and connected to some of the Australian regulators, energy regulators, and one of them DM'd me a really interesting report about job hopping, because I posted something recently about the role of interviews in understanding what opportunities are out there, and whether or not job hopping is something you should think about, or if you're like me, just can't imagine finding the time for. I would have never thought of this like very eminent Australian regulator knowing that was of interest to me and DMing me about it. I had the CEO of Cornwall Insight give me a book recommendation off the basis of posting about a book that I didn't really get on with, and I wasn't really sure if it was the right framing for talking and thinking about productivity. There he is in the comments underneath this post, recommending 4,000 Reads by Oliver Bergman was the recommendation. I was like, I mean, I would maybe soon, but I do not regularly bump into senior Australian regulators or the CEO of Cornwall Insight, but I'm engaging with them on LinkedIn and they know what I'm interested in. It's bewildering to me. Those are things which I'm interested in. I'm posting about on LinkedIn, even though they're not core to what I do at Citizens Advice, and they are not things which are policy priorities I'm trying to influence. But those are both very powerful people who, if they are regularly reading what I'm saying, they might be influenced by the kind of ideas that I am talking about, and therefore that will help do in the long term support me in changing the energy sector better. Before I move on, I just wanted to flag both of these exercises are drawn from a fantastic podcast called Squiggly Careers, and I've just popped the link to their podcast and their website in the chat there. They do regular free sessions as well, like live ones similar to this. If you're serious about your career development and you want to know more and think more about your personal brand, I really recommend their content. They work very hard to make it not just useful, but like actually fit into your day. So highly recommend. All right. So I'm going to talk about how now very specifically to use the insight that you've gleaned through those two examples to build your personal brand on LinkedIn. And then wanted to like flag what's coming so you can have a little think about how much you want to participate. We've got a lot of people on this call who could be really powerful advocates for you and for your personal brand. So I'm also going to give you the opportunity to pop in the chat what you want to be known for, so that we know as a small group, well, not so small, as a network, what you're interested in, and what you want to be known for. And also give you an opportunity to put your LinkedIn profile in the chat so that we can connect with each other live here and build our network. So if you're already on LinkedIn, then please take this as permission if you need it, to open up your profile, get the link and start popping it in that chat box so that we can connect with each other and carry on this conversation over LinkedIn. All right, another slide which is lost its numbers, but I promise when it comes through to you, it will have its back. All right, so you've had two short exercises to start thinking about what you want to be known for, about what you want other people to be saying about you when you're not in the room. What can LinkedIn do specifically to help you with that? So the first thing is consider adapting your title. So I've told you that you can get going with just your name, and you absolutely can. Name and photo even better, because then people don't think you're a bot. Having that, you can get going. But you also have the opportunity to put your title in. Now, I've really changed my opinion on this, and I do have some colleagues here who have seen me say, of course you want to put your title. Like, the box says title. Why would you put anything else? And then my job title changed to Principal Policy Manager. And who knows what that means? Like, I know what it means. I'm not sure if anyone else knows what it or cares what it means. It doesn't say what I'm good at. It doesn't say what I want to be known for. It doesn't talk about the kind of opportunities I might like. You basically have to be another Principal Policy Manager at Citizens Advice or my boss. That is a very small group of people who know what that means. And it means that also, okay, maybe then as I get to meet people in person, or people might see me present at an event and they're like, okay, well, I don't know what the Principal Policy Manager is, but I know Elizabeth and I know vaguely what she's interested in. But that's a relatively small group of people. If you want LinkedIn to be powering your personal brand, then I've actually changed my mind and come to think that title box can be a really powerful thing. Because in there, you can put what you want to be known for. Now, it's not exclusively. You can still put what your job title is. I've chosen not to, so I can maximize what's in the box. But I've put in there that I'm a speaker and writer. And those are both things that I do in my job, but also outside of my job as like an extra bit of an extra focus of mine to get experience in those things. And I talk about, your personal brand, meaning that people and projects come to you. If you've got something like speaker and writer in your profile, it's really clear that if people want someone to write something or come and give a presentation, you're available to do those things. Yes, that's also in my about section. But what it means is, as I comment and like around LinkedIn, people see that right up at the top. What I've also chosen to do is put kind of a short mission statement in my about section of like a really short sentence. And I've changed that over the years. I think I've changed it once actually since I stopped using my job title. And again, that means that a more broad group of people are more likely to engage if they feel that they connect to that mission. So when we answered the questions in the second exercise about what you stand for and who you stand with, something else might be, the change you want to see in the energy sector. Having that up front will really help more people from different organisations connect with you, because it's in plain English and they understand what it is that you're that makes up your personal. So consider using that title box for things that are more broad than the title. We did that second exercise that adds the about section. You can also add why you're on LinkedIn. So once you've had the time to reflect, whether it's in this section or, like I said, on your next terrain journey, put that you're really keen to meet more people from the energy sector. Put that you want what improvement you want to see. You have a chance to be really explicit that you want to meet more people who share your mission of X. And that way, people who do then open your profile, take that extra step, can then act in the way that you're suggesting. So in my about section, as well as about me, I've got that if you want to work with me, you can apply for a job advice, and I encourage people to that kind of stuff. You don't have to leave it to chance. Tell people what to do. So this third one is what's actually been the game changer for me on LinkedIn, which is to schedule posts when you do have the time. So I'm a disabled solo parent. I work at Citizens Advice. I also work with the award-winning team at the Money Advice Trust, delivering the Vulnerability Academy with firms and regulators. It's a bit hectic. I've got a hectic life. And I think the point at which it really flipped for me was this LinkedIn challenge, where they taught me about scheduling posts. There's a little clock that when you open up a post on LinkedIn, there's a little clock and you can then schedule it. And I happen to have a son who has a club once a week. It's in a quite noisy place where I can't really focus on anything detailed, and the internet's not quite good enough to do anything important, but it is good enough to sit and look at what I've got coming up in the next week, and post about it on LinkedIn, and then I can schedule them so they come out at Christmas. So even though I actually only have 30 minutes maybe a week to do my posts on LinkedIn, the scheduling means that I can do that. And what that means is that I can say, okay, well, I know I'm really keen to drive this responses to a particular consultation right now about a universal priority service register. So I can schedule several posts. I scheduled a post to invite people here today. So if I'm doing a speaking event, then I can like schedule a post ahead of time. So I would really recommend that. Not only if, like me, you just very hectic life because you're working in the energy sector and there's never a quiet time. It's also really good to give you that chance to have a think about, you know, what is it that I want to be known for, and then schedule those posts and run. I've already talked about the analytics that you can see on your own profile, but before I move on to this next bit about checking out the analytics, I want to share another link. So this is a bit more if you want to go on a deep dive about how you are improving over time, and that's something called a social selling index. So again, the link will be with you shortly. So in one tab, you want to open your LinkedIn profile, open a second tab next to it and paste this link to look at your social selling index. What that shows is where you are in terms of your industry, in terms of your network, in terms of percentage, and then it gives you a score out of 100. Now, if you're, so again, from the LinkedIn team, if your score is above 75, you get this extra boost because it shows how influential you are. Now, I have to say, I'm not above 75. There was a moment when I was doing LinkedIn Challenge where I was being interesting enough that it got there. But yes, I can't imagine how much time and energy it would take, but it's not something that I'm there yet, maybe never. But what it is really useful for is to show that improvement over time. So if you are really keen to see your personal brand grow, then I found a really useful tool to see the change over time. So to see it move up from 20, 30 to 40 or 50. And if you get above 25, you get an initial boost. And then above 75, you get this apparently huge accelerator. We'll let you know if it ever happens to me. So check out those analytics to see what works. In terms of that, of checking, of knowing kind of what's working better or worse, and the feedback that I've had. So posting once a week is really likely to bring you into the top 10% of LinkedIn contributors, because the vast majority of people put their online CV on LinkedIn, come back when they're looking for a job. So that it's relatively straightforward to get into the top 10% of contributors. If you're posting 3 times a week, then you're likely to be in the top 3%. And that means more people are seeing your posts, more people are being influenced by what you're talking about. There's also a new way to have a kind of expression of expertise, and that's called a LinkedIn badge. And what it looks like is a little yellow kind of, looks a bit like a gold star, a bit like a sun, next to your name that LinkedIn allocates to you on a particular topic. And what that then does is gives you a real boost of your personal brand on that topic. Again, another link on your way is a list of those topics. So you have the chance to regularly post on what LinkedIn calls a collaborative article on particular topics. And if you contribute in a way that other people like, so they literally like your contribution to that post, if you do that consistently over time, then LinkedIn gives you a badge. So I consistently contributed my experiences on public speaking, and now LinkedIn has this little badge on my profile that I'm a top public speaker. That's not because anyone official has said that. It's just that there's enough LinkedIn users have liked my comments on it that LinkedIn has assigned that. And the topics that you can get a badge on are at that link. So if you really want to be known as a fantastic project manager or a HR professional, then you can respond to these collaborative articles consistently. People will like them, and then you'll get that kind of LinkedIn stamp on that. You've also got the chance for your personal brand to experiment with different options that LinkedIn gives you. So I've spoken mostly about posts because that's really the bread and butter of LinkedIn. And as I said earlier, those single images with comments are what get the most engagement and the most sharing and all that kind of stuff on LinkedIn. But you have lots of other options in addition to posts. In particular, I wanted to mention articles and videos. So if you look at someone's profile or your own profile, you can actually do a bit of filtering. If you look at their post, you'll get a whole lot. And if someone's been reposting other people, you'll see all those as well. But you can also select an article or a video and see those all together. In terms of articles, that's your chance to do a bit more long form discussion, reflection. It doesn't have to be hugely long, but just gives you a chance to be a bit more formatted and to add more visuals. So you've got several charts, for example, and an article will be a really good place to put that. And if you're going to be posting a lot over time, an article can be a really good way of being able to direct people to the same thing again and again. So for example, spent an enormous amount of time talking about the affordability crisis, and particularly around challenges around prepayment meters. And if someone said, "Oh, you had that post about the challenges this winter, could you resend it to me?" And I have had people ask for LinkedIn posts in the past, and no idea where that might be. But an article, you've got this way of filtering them, so I can send them back to that article over and over again. That's a really valuable option for longer form content. And then videos, this is still very much a learning in process for me, but the kind of face to screen that you'd video on your phone, short videos, do generally do really well on LinkedIn. I think it's that, again, it's about that connection. People really feel like they're getting to know you when they can see you and hear your voice. I will share with you, I do aspire to do more videos. I've not done many. If they're under 30 seconds, they're much more likely to be engaged with, because people don't have a huge amount of time. And I'd really encourage you to think about the accessibility of your posts, articles and videos. LinkedIn's really good at prompting you to have your closed captions on your videos and to have alt text when you are posting your images, and that can mean that your messages about your personal brand reach the maximum audience. All right, so we're coming to the end of our hour together, and I hope that those exercises have given you a chance to add some fascinating extra information onto your LinkedIn, or to get going if you're not there yet. I'd really love it if there's a chance for attendees to share their LinkedIn profiles so that we can connect with each other. And then we have got time for a few more questions. Just for the recording though, let me wrap up. In my opinion, LinkedIn is better for supporting networking over time, because you don't have this like single event and then you all go your separate ways. You can carry on engaging. Much better for networking than Twitter, or X as it is now. You know, it's really changed as a place. Very challenging. Yeah, that's a whole new hour ranting about the changes there. So just say, I really do think, and my observation would be, much better than that as a networking tool. And really importantly, for all of us who are here today, because we're part of a network where we're trying to drive change, we need to know that the time we're spending on social media is being spent in a worthwhile way. And with the analytics that are within LinkedIn and that social selling index, you can actually measure quantitatively what your reach is, and then adapt your posting to improve it. So I can see that we've got some of the links in the